Welcome to another episode of literally the coolest podcast on the planet. With the coolest listeners on the planet. We have lunch with amazing people, and while they feed their face, we steal their sauce. Welcome to Lunch with the Cool Kids.
Y'all ready for me to freestyle? I told y'all it was coming. This is the week. It's gonna happen. I lied. I'm sorry. Cool Kids, I'm sorry. Welcome to Lunch with the Cool Kids. I'm your host, Gerald Davis, and I'm not the cool kid. You are. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much. Man, we're here again. We are here again. We took last week off because I went to Texas. And my brother by blood, by way. Oh man. So this is what I was thinking about saying, and I'm glad that I didn't. I was gonna say my brother by the way of my mother's uterus. But like right when I was saying that, I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. So I didn't. So my blood brother and my sister-in-law, they celebrated their 20-year anniversary, their vow renewal. So me and my loving wife, Danielle, we went down there. We packed up the kids. We went to Texas, man. So shout out to everybody who's in Texas. My Lord, the Metroplex is getting wonderful. When I was there, last time I was there in 2010, I think they had just built Cowboy Stadium. And look at it now. It is a Shangri-La of the South. Can I say that? Is that fair? Shangri-La of the South. There was probably a better word. But, yeah, thank you so much. Do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe. I'd appreciate it. If you're listening on Spotify, 5 stars, you know how we do. And if you are on Apple Podcast, make up the best lie that you can, how this podcast has changed your life and how you'll never be the same. And I'll cash app you $3. How about that? How about that? Y'all, I have my friend on this episode. I have my wonderful friend, and she just so happens to be my wife, Danielle.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. You get rave reviews. Everybody loves you. People think that you're adorable. Adorbs, as the kids say.
I'm not adorable.
You are adorable. Do something adorable.
Grr.
I thought that was adorable. So we're back. And I promised them on the last episode. It wasn't the last episode. Homecoming was the last episode.
Good job.
So the episode before that, that was my that was the last Women's Month episode. And we celebrated the women, all that you guys did, all that you guys have accomplished. And we thought that, well, before we do that, give us your thoughts on Women's Month. Just general, women in general.
My thoughts on women in general?
Yeah, what do you think about women?
Women are everything. That's my thought.
Spoken like a true woman.
Dang right.
So, we did, in commemoration of Women's Month and the queens that you are. And I feel like that in our Black community, when we say Women's Month, I really feel like we're saying Black women. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that's true for any race.
So you think that the white Republican cool kids around the world, women, they're saying like Happy White Women's Month?
I mean, I hope nobody's saying Happy White Women or Happy Black Women's Month or Mexican Women Month or whatever. But I think that you celebrate the women in your proximity.
I could buy that. Speaking of proximity, I made a couple of different mistakes. I made a couple of different mistakes on my topic that we talked about 2 weeks ago. It was the Mount Rushmore of female R&B. Here we go. So turns out, first thing about Mount Rushmore is that there's not 5 heads. There's only 4 heads.
Yeah, I was shaking my head.
There's only 4 heads on Mount Rushmore, and I came up with 3, and I was like struggling so much for the next 2, but my struggle was in vain because there's only one more head left.
You said you came up with 2 or 3?
No, I came up with 3, and I was struggling in my mind, I was struggling for the last 2. But that was
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You thought it was 2, only 1.
That was a struggle. That was in vain.
What 3 did you come up with?
Before I get into that, I know there's millions and millions of people who want to know the update about your finger. Show the people your finger.
It's free. Ignore the nail. It's coming this week, guys.
So tell us about your finger. What's going on with it? The last time that we talked, your finger. Sorry, listening audience, but you can go on G Davis Lunch with the Cool Kids or something like that. Search Lunch with the Cool Kids on YouTube. You'll find us, and then you'll see my loving wife put her finger up, not the middle one, the index finger. There were so many borderline inappropriate jokes that I opted out of just that moment. So last time you saw her, it was in a little small cast, and the time before that it was like a Fred Flintstone Club. And now, show them one more time.
I really don't know what the Fred Flintstone Club thing you talking about, but okay. My finger's out. I had surgery February 20th on my finger. They placed 3 pins, 1, 2, 3 in my finger, to I guess refuse that bone that had broken. And it fused. It came out. The pins came out the Tuesday before this past Tuesday. What?
No, I'm just saying that's crazy.
And now I can do this, but that's about it with the finger. So I'm doing all these exercises in hopes that I can have full use of my index finger again. But they're saying it's probably not going to happen, but we'll do what we can.
But we believe God.
Yes. I need to be able to make a fist.
You can't make a fist right now, can you?
Not with my right hand. Don't walk up on me, though. I can still slip.
Okay. This episode, before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by Saratoga, which we don't have today. Sorry, Saratoga. You pointed something to it. What did you point to?
You went through all this trouble to take the labels off the water bottle, and you picked up the one bottle you have that had a label. I didn't know if you were trying to be careful or not. Trying to help you out.
I appreciate you looking out for me. I'm trying to figure out, like, what are you pointing at? Okay. This is a good time. I feel like this is going to be a good show. Because I have musical opinions. We're going to get into this Mount Rushmore. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I want you to react to how should we do this? I think that I'll give it to you one at a time, and then you let me know. And then we'll see where the magic takes us. By the way, before we get into that, I know the cool kids are like, man, would you just say it? I want to say that our family is awesome. By our family, I mean me, you, Savannah, Leah, Maya. And we try to every Friday have movie night. And tonight we watched
Hook.
Dustin Hoffman, ladies and gentlemen, and the incomparable Robin Williams. And when did that come out? Like 1991, give or take. And
Had to be after 91, but go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Look it up. While you look it up, the thing that I remember the most about Hook, besides it being, just this documentary of brilliance to my 8-year-old mind at the time, is that
91. You were right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can end the show right there because my wife just told me that I was right, and we have it documented on film. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the coolest moment I'm ever going to get because I have it documented that my wife said I was right.
I've never had a problem admitting when you were right. It's just that it doesn't happen often.
You are a bold-faced liar. That is the face of somebody that's lying right now. And the dangerous part about that is that it looks just like the face when you're telling the truth.
Because I was telling the truth. I don't know what to tell you.
They had this wonderful commercial in Christmas. I remember it was a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. My Aunt Faye took us to Toys R Us to get Hook toys. I remember it. And they had this commercial. I pulled it up. And this was the moment when I said, man, I can write songs. When I heard this jingle. Hook, hook, hook. Pan, pan, pan. Somebody sat in the studio and came up with hook, 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 pan, pan, pan. And then somebody signed off on it and said, yeah, let's send this to the nations.
Worked on you.
I guess it did. I guess it did.
They did their job.
Mount Rushmore. First person. Female Mount Rushmore. Do we need Mount Rushmore music? I think we do. Female Mount Rushmore. Oh, man. Oh, Lord. Okay, stop the music. Okay. Because when you are in the heat of battle and you're freestyling, once you say a line, you're supposed to think about the next thing that you're going to say. I said female Mount Rushmore, and I was thinking about my drink of water. And then I realized the next cadence was coming, and I had no word to rhyme with more. But there are so many, I blanked out. Cool kids want to get to this. Stop stalling. The cool kids want to get to this list. Okay, first off, I don't think this is controversial. I don't think that this is I don't think this is far-fetched. I don't think that this is I don't know who would disagree with this, but I feel like that people would. Here's my number one. Okay, no particular order, but this is what I got. First person is Aretha Franklin. How could we not?
Big Reef.
So let's talk about how podcasts work. So I talk, and then I give you something, and you bounce off of it, and you give your opinion.
I did. I agree.
You said Big Retha.
That's a shout out. To the original Riri.
To the original Riri. I think that I said Aretha Franklin because I think universally she's the voice of soul. Like she's the voice of soul. She's the standard of soul. Yeah. I mean, it's Aretha Franklin. It's Aretha Franklin. So I think that some of the younger cool kids may not know how impactful Aretha Franklin was and what she meant to soul music.
I think that Aretha's legacy is impactful because not only was, she was dubbed the Queen of Soul, but she was an overall talent, from piano to composition, having control of how she wanted to present herself, whether we agreed with it or not, from gospel to R&B. I saw a clip not too long ago. I think she was, I'm not sure who she was being interviewed by. I can't remember. But she was able to imitate anybody. It was very remarkable. The clip where she sang with Pavarotti.
Yep.
She just had an overall talent. And I remember reading too that she was taking piano lessons up to the mid 2000s just because that was her craft and that's how serious she took it.
Was she really?
That's what I read.
Somebody looked that up.
So it kind of, no matter how we deemed her so large of a presence in the music world, and she still had enough respect for her audience.
RESPECT.
There you go. For her audience to take her craft serious enough to keep practicing. I thought that was amazing. Because let me tell you something. Once I make practice, we talking about practice? Nah.
Not even the playoffs. Talking about practice. Okay, so no qualms about Riri.
No qualms.
What you think about the movie? Did you see
Which
the movie?
one? Oh. No, I didn't see the one with Jennifer Hudson. I saw the series with Cynthia Erivo.
What you think about that?
I don't think it did touch on a few controversial things.
That was the one that the family didn't authorize,
They
right?
didn't authorize, yeah. I thought it was interesting. It was just it was good. It was cool. I don't think, of course, she didn't look anything like Aretha, so that was kind of throwing me off. But Cynthia Erivo
they did take liberties.
Yeah, she's a talent, a force within herself. She has an amazing voice. So it was cool.
Okay. And then the Jennifer Hudson version came out shortly thereafter. Here's my thing with Jennifer Hudson is that, first of all, J Hood, I love you. Hood. Didn't I say that?
Yeah, Hood is hood.
Say it again.
Hood.
That's what I said. Hood.
Okay, girl. That's not it, but all right.
I feel like I'm saying it. J Hood.
Hood.
Say it in a sentence.
J Hood has her own talk show.
J Hood have her own talk show.
Just keep going. You're not doing it.
So I feel like J Hood version of Aretha Franklin. I think she was fine. I will never see Jennifer Hudson anything other than Effie, and that's my cross to bear.
That's your cross to bear. She's a EGOT.
She
performance EGOT at that. Oh wait, is she performance? No, she's not performance. She I think she produced. She was a producer on one of the Tony plays.
What she produced?
She put up money for one of the Tony plays that won a Tony.
Oh,
one of the plays,
like she
Broadway plays. I mean,
like she Diddy produced.
Well, I mean, as in it was a group of producers, and she was one of them.
Okay, all right. Well, I got the EGOT to move on from J Hood, but I will. I'll never see her more than Effie. What have been what I want?
Don't even do that. You're not ready for Dream Girls talk.
First of all,
Shout out to Felicia.
Fleesh. So we're all.
Shout out to Rosalind, Carla, Bridget.
Okay.
You invited me.
Okay. So we're all in agreement that Aretha Franklin is on the Mount Rushmore. We have 3 more to go because there's 4 heads on Mount Rushmore, not 5 or 6 or whatever I said. Second, easy, no problem, Whitney Houston.
Absolutely.
I think that. Oh, okay. Here's my thing with Whitney. I think that she is the greatest female voice in R&B has ever produced. I think, and I'm gonna say this. I'll say it, and then I'll say what I'm gonna say. I think that her voice is better than Aretha Franklin's. But here's my issue. My issue is that I think that we're in a culture right now where everybody has to be the best or their whole thing is diminished. Like we can't say that they were one of the greats. We have to say they're
the greatest, yeah.
Yeah. So
the GOAT.
Which is a very, very funny saying because people have turned GOAT into like it's only supposed to be one. You can't be one of the GOATs. Like that's not a deal. Like you can't be one of the greatest of all time.
You could be a God greatest of that time.
Yeah, no, greatest.
I said of that time, and meaning like in a decade or an era. That would be a GOT. That's what I was saying. It wouldn't be a GOAT, so I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, but I guess just really more so, I'm saying like if there's a GOAT, it's only one.
It should be.
So like I'm like, oh man, yeah, like they were one of the GOATs. Like that burns my biscuit because it can only be one. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. So I think that sometimes like people that we say, and you're gonna enjoy this particular portion of it. But I'll hold off into that later. But like somebody, we feel like that somebody who came after somebody else, like their predecessor, can't be greater than the person that they came after. And I say that to say that most people would say, well, if there was no Aretha Franklin, there would be no Whitney Houston. Sure. But
well, that's not true. I mean, that sentence, I know what you're saying, but in that instance, that's just not true.
What do you mean?
If there was no Sissy Houston, there'd be no Whitney Houston.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not mean just because she's her mother, but because Sissy Houston was already in the industry. Aretha Franklin, maybe, I'm not sure business-wise, I don't know, but her talent wasn't predicated on Aretha Franklin's success. And not to say that Whitney Houston or fans of Whitney Houston shouldn't respect Aretha Franklin's success or anything like that. I just think that's not a good example of that.
Yeah, people don't really comp them together.
Yeah, even though that was Whitney Houston's godmother.
Was it?
Yes, absolutely.
Wait, Aretha Franklin was Whitney Houston's godmother?
Absolutely.
Somebody look that up.
Who was somebody? Me?
You look it up. You know what? Hey, put that phone away. I trust you. That's what we're doing at the lunch table. We're trusting our
I'm
wives.
sure they'll correct you in the comments. But ain't nothing to correct because I'm right.
We're trusting our wives at the lunch table. That's what we're doing. I trust you.
Okay, thank you. Same to you.
All right, this is where it gets controversial, and this I don't think that it's controversial, but apparently a lot of people do. Well, before we do this, let me share some of the ridiculous names that people threw out there for a suggestion, which I absolutely love about these list type of things, because it inevitably
Okay.
See, when you break it down, it starts to get kind of weird. Yeah. So it's inevitable.
Tell it's late. Come on.
If it starts flying off the rails. Somebody said, I'll give you the more ridiculous one. Somebody said Alicia Keys, and that's your girl.
First of all, that was my girl in 2002.
That's only what?
21 years ago.
She had a rough patch.
I liked Alicia Keys. I mean, you know.
Shout out to Alicia Keys. The last song I enjoyed was it was on some album. It was like Not Even the King or something like that. They Don't Got What We Got, Not Even the King. I played it for you on I
remember.
It was like one of our anniversaries. It's like year 2 or 3 or something like that.
It was not our anniversary, but we'll move on.
Okay. It was something of significance. And some people are, shout out to the cool kids, but some people are prisoners of the moment. Some people had NDRE up there.
What are we talking about? What's
Mountain Rushmore of female R&B.
just overall R&B?
Overall.
That's interesting.
Gave the
I like NDRE, but I liked her in the same space where I like Alicia Keys.
You gave her the Lil Wayne Gucci Mane. Oh, really? Okay.
Gucci Mane. Shout out to my Gucci.
That was awesome, man. You just edited it yourself. That was cool. Somebody said Kim. Kim is not even a woman.
I was like, Kim? Like
Like, people just be saying stuff, man.
it'd be funny if they thought there was a woman the whole time. Shout out to Kim. He's very nice. I see him all the time. Well, not all the time. I've seen him a lot.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm. Very nice guy.
Shout out to Kim. K-E-M.
K-E-M.
Not K-I-M. Does not have a little in front of it. Just regular Kim.
I can't stop loving you, girl.
Let's call him Kim the Man.
His name is Kim, so we don't have to call him Kim the Man for that one person who's confused. Let that man be his name.
So it's fair to say that Kim is not on the Mount Rushmore of Female R&B. And then people start becoming prisoners of the moment. And I'll just say it, and I wonder. More than a couple of people have said Jasmine Sullivan. More than a couple of people. And I think, you let me know what you think. I think that Jasmine Sullivan has a phenomenal voice. I think Jasmine Sullivan has a phenomenal voice. I think she has a phenomenal voice. I don't think she has a mainstream voice. I think that history have taught us. I call it and y'all cool kids who have who've been in church, who've been in the Black Western American church for a while. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I call it the husky alto Kim Burrell voice. That. So Jasmine Sullivan is that, and she's a very successful version of that, but she is that. So in that regard, and people hate me for saying this, I don't think her voice is that unique.
I think it's unique for the genre. But I agree that she doesn't have necessarily the mainstream, I guess, R&B voice. I think that she, I think if there was a baby Mount Rushmore, she could possibly be on it. I think that her following is big enough. She's selling out shows. I mean, she's clearly there. I don't think she has the, we're talking Mount Rushmore. I don't think she has the longevity as far as career. Not saying that she won't, but as of right now, I don't think that she would be there. But she has the talent. She has stage presence. She has the following. She has the songs. I mean, I don't think there will ever, I know what you're going to say. I don't think there will ever be another Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin. I don't know if you're going to mention Mariah Carey or not, but I'm saying as far as those number one hits the way that music is set up now, I don't think there would be another artist that would be able to replicate that.
Okay, so here's what I'm putting on my criteria, and I feel like I'm missing something, but it's like 1:00 in the morning, so
1:30.
1:30. Is it really? Oh my Lord. I wish you wouldn't have said that. Here's my criteria. I have talent, obviously. Talent being tone, timbre, range, vocal choices. I have
tone, timbre, and range is your criteria, or vocal ability, because that's preference.
Yeah, tone, timbre, range, vocal choices. Vocal ability is it's vocal ability. It's subjective. It's subjective in its preference. Yes.
No, I'm talking about tone and timbre are subjective. Like,
well, I don't think tone. I don't think tone is. There's
plenty of people who I don't like their tone, but I can acknowledge that they can sing.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was gonna say. With tone, like tone is one for me anyway. I think tone is 100% preference, because you can't help your tone. Like, you can help everything else, but you can't help your tone. Your tone is your tone. So, but I mean, I do qualify that. So yeah, so that their overall career in sales and stuff like that, because I mean, that isn't the end all be all for me, but like you got to count that. Like,
yeah, but it separates. That's where I think it gets muddy, because when internet gets involved, the sales don't match up, and that's at no fault to the newer artists.
Sure. Okay. I don't. It doesn't carry a lot of weight in the thing, but it's there.
Reach should be. I think should be the.
Yeah, I was gonna say cultural and overall impact.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I think that should you should take out sales and replace it with that, just because that evens the playing field for the new and the old school.
Okay. All right. So Kim is not on there. I don't think Jasmine Sullivan is on there. A lot of people do. I think that they're a prisoner of the moment. That's fine. I don't personally think that I'll stay away from Jasmine Sullivan, because they'll kill me. So I don't think that she's on the Mount Rushmore. And I think if we only got 2 more spots, is a whole bunch of people that Jasmine Sullivan ain't catching. So, you know. So here's my third. This is where it gets. This is where it gets in. And I'll say it, but I think that you're going to be fine with it, but I don't think everybody else will be. I got Beyonce on there.
Absolutely, I'm fine with it.
I know you are. I know you are.
No shame in my game.
Because you're a woman of the people.
I'm a woman of Danielle.
And you and you understand who Beyonce is and what Beyonce has done. And we have this conversation all the time where people say that she can't sing. I have no idea where they're coming from with that or what.
And that's why I made the argument about tone and timbre, because you probably don't like her tone, but the fact of the matter is she can sing.
And that's why I got vocal ability, like that carries a lot of weight because and you know, not shooting down. This is a person who's in very much consideration. Not shooting down Mary J. Blige at all, but nobody is gonna accuse her of being a vocal acrobatist.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, she can holler and she can sing her songs well, but like she's not gonna be.
We should come back to Mary J. Blige. Focus.
Oh, we will. Okay, so all agreements. For me, I think that those first three are pretty easy. Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, Beyonce. I think that's...
What's the controversy for Beyonce? Because people just don't like her?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And people think that some of the other people that we're going to go over should definitely have Beyonce's spot.
Well, let me say this about Beyonce. Whether or not you like her per se, I think could be, I don't want to say a moot point, but I will say that Beyonce is, and I'm pretty sure of this, Beyonce is the only relevant female. She's kind of poppy, but I'm gonna go with R&B because she does both.
Okay, okay, well, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
She's the only one that has bridged over from the 90s to today. I don't know too many people that are around. Mary J. Blige is one of them as well. I would say Mariah Carey as well. Mariah Carey is less today, but it's not many of them around.
But for people to bridge over from 90s to right now, they would have to be incredibly old.
Not if you started at 15, 16.
Unless you're Beyonce and you started at 15, 16.
What's she say? I'm a diva since 16, and my stiletto's been running in this game.
That's the verse.
I'm just saying it's something to behold, and not only has she done it, she's done it well consistently. So I think the argument of whether or not you like her and all that stuff is kind of small compared to her overall impact.
Okay, here's my callback, and this is where I think it's going to get pretty interesting for you. Because Aretha Whitney, those are not comps. By comps, cool kids, we mean comparables. Those aren't comps. Beyonce and Janet Jackson is. And many would argue, and this is the whole argument, that the latter can't be better than the predecessor, because without the predecessor, the latter would never exist. Okay. Many people would never put Beyonce above Janet Jackson because Janet Jackson paved the way for all of that good stuff. What do you say to that? Because you love you some Beyonce, but man, do you love you some Janet Jackson?
I love Janet Jackson. I used to want to be Janet Jackson.
You still got time.
I can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think we are also at the age where we have memory of Janet Jackson. And a lot of people who are fans of Beyonce after Destiny's Child, I guess for her solo stuff, they don't have the memory of Janet Jackson and what she accomplished and how big she was. I mean, just massive, and how detrimental that whole Super Bowl thing was to her career. And I think to even have a spotlight and your brother is Michael Jackson, that's amazing in itself.
Yeah.
You can have a whole conversation about Janet without even really mentioning Michael. And not to say that she didn't, I don't want to say take from, but, glean from her brother and things like that. But there was no Janet Jackson before Janet Jackson. There were people who may have done some things here and there, but the show that she put out, the music that she released, and people joke all the time about her voice and things like that. It's a clip running around now about somebody doing a tribute to Janet Jackson, and it was some women who could sing, big, heavy voices. But when I say they were messing that song up,
shout out to J Hood.
I mean, it was not J Hood. When I tell you they were messing the song up, because it does take talent to do what Janet Jackson does. That's just point blank, period. But yes, she was Beyonce before Beyonce in that right. But Beyonce met Janet and surpassed it. I mean, and it was bound to happen. It just happened, and that's okay.
Little fun Janet Jackson thing that I just thought about when you said that if there was no Janet Jackson above Janet Jackson. Like, those are the moments why I married you. Like, those little statements right there. Like, that's a very genius observation. 100%. Okay. And then the whole Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson thing. If Michael Jackson didn't exist, I think Janet Jackson would be regarded as one of the most important people in entertainment history.
That's interesting. I think that's a whole nother episode, but I don't know. I don't know if I love Janet Jackson, but I don't know if I feel that. But I will say this. I think Janet Jackson is on a Mount Rushmore, but I think her Mount Rushmore would be performance. But, and I also will add this. This is another wrench. And I heard this argument recently, and I'm going to admit it had me in my feelings. How many songs of Janet Jackson do you consider classics versus Beyonce's? And I mean classics as in they're replayable.
Okay, I don't like the replayable arguments. I don't like the replayable conversations because I'm the person. I don't listen to playlists. Like, I'll listen to an album. I feel the thing. Like, oh man, I feel like listening to whatever the case, and I'll just play the album. So for me, like, good music is replayable, not necessarily hits. So, and I don't want to rabbit trail this whole thing, but like this whole argument of name one Eminem song that you will replay. I replay the whole album because I love that.
Eminem, but what I'm saying is when you have songs like "That's the Way Love Goes,"
yep.
I get so lonely, and I'm talking about R&B songs for Janet.
Those was a third Monday.
That's what I'm saying. Those songs, you have feelings attached to those songs, and I love Beyonce. I have feelings attached to Beyonce songs, but I don't know categorically that the culture does. Like, I know Halo is a huge thing, but I don't necessarily need to hear Halo all the time. I don't think that's an R&B song in itself. I think that might be her biggest hit or single leg, something like that.
Okay, we're about to get into a whole
Beyonce
thing because I always generally wonder, like, what do people constitute as a hit? But that's a different conversation. That's not right now. But I think the bigger thing for me is I just went blank. So
Okay, let's get to the fourth one.
no, we will not. We will not get to the fourth one. All right, let's get to the fourth one. So we're all in agreement that Beyonce is. Oh no!
Well, all you and I continue.
Okay, let's count down. Aretha, yes. Whitney Houston, yes. Beyonce, you and me, yes. And somebody pointed this out, and this is a whole different thing for a whole nother time. Before we get to the fourth one, but shout out to Marvin Holly, Fort Worth's finest, incredible musician, ODY alum. He pointed out a couple of years ago, before this was common knowledge, he was like, "Hey, it's quiet as it kept. Rihanna has more number ones than Beyonce."
It's not quiet. It's a fact. We know.
But no, this was. I give him credit. He pointed this out like maybe like 7 years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago. It was like, so that was the first time that I was like, oh, maybe. And it was a big thing. Like, but I said that to say that in stuff like this, we don't necessarily put Rihanna in that category. And maybe it's because of the talent, but that's we can revisit that. This is where it gets dicey. This is where,
shout out to Rihanna. I do love Rihanna.
a lot of people love Rihanna.
Rihanna. Boom.
Are you putting her on your Mount Rushmore?
I just said shout out to Rihanna.
Love her enough to put her up there.
I love her enough to tell her the truth.
What's the truth?
That I love her.
Moving on. Aretha, Whitney, Beyonce. Now it gets kind of dicey because I have three that I'm. Oh yeah, there was another person that people was like, oh yeah, and it was like Brandy. And I was like, yeah, man, she's.
That's good. That's a good contender. That's a good suggestion.
It's a good suggestion, but once I throw all these other names, you're like, yeah, I don't know.
I listened to that argument. I'm not dismissing that off the first mention.
Okay. Shout out to Brandy. Here's my fourth. These are the three that I'm struggling with. And I'm just gonna boom, boom, boom. Diana Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know about Diana Ross, look her up. Diana Ross.
If you don't know about Diana, but I guess kids don't know nowadays.
Yeah, people
it's
don't.
It's funny to me, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, Diana Ross. And I said this the last time, and I thought that this was a pretty good statement. Diana Ross was the biggest argument in the biggest movement in the arguably the greatest time of R&B music.
The biggest argument?
No, she was the biggest star. She was the biggest star in the biggest movement.
I feel like you didn't say that, but okay. Go ahead.
Run the tape back. Okay. Second person, Patti LaBelle.
Mm-hmm. You know I love Patti LaBelle.
Patti? We went and saw Patti LaBelle at the Essence Fest. And let me tell you, this 80-year-old Betty put on a show.
Crip walked and everything.
Ran circles around these little girls. Ran circles. Who was on the card? It was the City Girls that night?
We didn't see the City Girls, so either we missed it or they weren't that night. But it was Summer Walker, Jasmine Sullivan, Patti LaBelle, and then Janet.
Patti showed these girls what time it was. Okay. So Diana Ross.
Shout out to Summer Walker. I was pleasantly surprised by her set. Not a huge stage presence, but she did a lot better than I gave her credit for. So shout out to Summer Walker doing her thing.
She's got incredible gowns. And that was an incredible gown that she wore that night, which is...
It was not a gown. It was a mesh bodysuit on the Jumbotron.
Third person, of course. Okay, it's not even a chorus because I have Janet Jackson, like maybe. I have Mariah Carey. Like, you know what I mean? It gets kind of... and
that's the point. You got to name it. What you going to say?
And that's what I was like, okay, if it's 5 heads, then it's a lot better. But it's only 4 heads. It's only 4 heads on Mount Rushmore.
Who you got up there?
I don't know. I definitely have Aretha, definitely have Whitney, definitely have Beyonce. But like now I don't know. And I've had 2 weeks to think about it. And I still don't know. Like if I had to, if it was like gun to my head, pick somebody, I guess I'm saying Diana. I guess I'm saying Diana Ross.
Showing your age.
Why do you say that?
Not to say that she didn't accomplish what she accomplished. Your Mount Rushmore is very all-encompassing on things that necessarily don't matter anymore.
What do you mean?
Sales. I guess you can say reached Aretha. I'm gonna put Aretha Franklin and Diana Ross on the same plane because of the age, the time frame. I guess they had the reach. When you think about it, without internet.
Yeah.
But even still, I don't like to make that argument because you have what you have. So, I mean, if word of mouth is the vehicle that people learn from, then that's what it is. It's stronger. It's strong that way. If we have the internet, that's not at fault. We shouldn't fault people for having the tool of the internet.
But word of mouth is the internet is word of mouth. It's a very high tech word of mouth.
Well, it's not the technology. It's how fast you're able to spread that word. Is what I mean.
I got you.
But I think that your Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's a Mount Rushmore. It's meant to be this kind of controversial, but I would say that there should be more than one Mount Rushmore. I think that it should be more of a top 10 than a 4.
Now we're having the GOAT conversation. How many GOATs do we have? You know what I mean? Like Mount Rushmore is Mount Rushmore. It's 4 heads. I thought it was 5. It's not 5. It's not 5, ladies and gentlemen. It's 4 heads. It's in South Dakota. And y'all not gonna give me to name these heads again because I did it twice on the last episode and I feel like it was a failure both times. So it's 4 heads. So
but why do you choose Diana Ross? Why is she your 4th out of the others?
Because I don't think Patti LaBelle was ever the greatest.
No. Make your argument for Diana Ross, not against anybody.
Okay. I don't like how you just did that, but that's fine.
Whatever, man.
Many would argue that Motown was the most influential sound in R&B in ever the history of it. Many would argue that the Motown movement was the greatest entrepreneurial, cultural, impactful movement in music history, period. And many would argue that Diana Ross was the biggest artist in that biggest movement. Most successful.
You said she was the most successful to come out of Motown?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Many would argue.
Michael Joseph Jackson.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, okay. Who's not Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson doesn't count. Michael Jackson doesn't count.
Stevie Wonder.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
She was a
no. Go ahead.
Diana Ross, and not taking away, she was a pop R&B princess and elevated and she was the Beyonce, I will say, of that time.
Yes. And that was going to be my last point, but yes, she was the Beyonce at that time. And let me amend my statement. And that's and you're right. So yeah, it's a couple of people, but that I would say were bigger successes than Diana Ross. Yes. But I remember that we were doing this in Women's Month. So my amendment is that she was the biggest woman to ever come out of Motown. Okay. So for that, for that, she's in my consideration for that fourth spot. And so those are my 4 reasons. But then when I take that and then I put it against the 4 reasons for the other people, like Patti LaBelle, Patti LaBelle is one of the greats. Yes. Mariah Carey, she had that crazy string of whatever, and her talent is off the charts. Yes. But and Janet Jackson, we went over Janet Jackson. But I would never. And the reason that I struggle, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. But the reason that I would go with Diana Ross is because none of those, in my humble opinion, were ever the greatest in their time.
Okay, I don't agree with that, but okay.
Like Patti LaBelle was like.
Okay, I'm not Patti, no, but Janet Jackson absolutely was the greatest in her time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
So I find it interesting. I would do Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, Beyonce. I would give some real consideration to Mary J. Blige.
You say Mary J. Blige over Mariah Carey.
In the terms of R&B, yes. Not that Mariah Carey doesn't make R&B music, because she absolutely does, and I love Mariah Carey. Like Gerald knows I play Mariah Carey. I think more than he thought that I would, but
it's very disturbing.
It's not disturbing.
It's disturbing how much you play Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey has hits and she writes. I respect that all day.
Mariah Carey has hits and she writes.
She's the source of R&B. You get some of her lyrics, she's putting words in there that battle rappers use. It's quite interesting.
And yet still you have okay, I guess one of the batteries just died, so that's all right. We're getting there. But I guess we'll just hear your lovely voice for the rest of this thing. Yeah. Okay.
I'll sit back then.
Yeah, you can sit back. That's terrible. So, but still, you have her over Mary J. Blige. I mean, you have Mary J. Blige over her.
I just think about Mariah Carey. I think it was easier for her to cross over just because of her appearance.
Sure.
And not that Mary J. Blige is not beautiful, but she is obviously black. And Mariah Carey, especially when she first came out, was like, what is she?
Yeah.
But
then the hero comes along.
The No More Drama. When I tell you she sang that song on Good Morning America, that's when I knew. I said, oh.
Oh, here we go.
I said, oh, in our mind, she had made it. But they were listening to her squall No More Drama at 7:00 in the morning on a Wednesday.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, going to work.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. No More Drama. I mean, not No More Drama. Hateration. What's that?
In this dancery.
Yeah. What is that song called?
Let's get it jumping, crunking.
It's Family Affair.
Family Affair.
Yeah. Like
Dr. Dre produced that.
I know. Well, you can definitely tell.
Hard drums.
The
Shout out to Andre.
Uh,
I just want to shout him out.
I mean, it's no problem. It's just funny. But yeah, she.
You know, he's related to my LB. I'm not going to say who, but yeah.
Cool. Shout
funny.
out to your LB. He's related to. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Family Affair. That was a huge crossover success. But on top of that, the albums, you don't.
Yep.
The impact that her albums had on R&B and what R&B sounded like, and it bridging the gap between R&B and hip hop in the way that it did. It was one of a kind.
But
it is one of a kind.
But I don't necessarily know that there is one person who's in true consideration who's not Kim, who didn't have that type of impact. You know what I mean? Like, it may be different ways, but right. And the thing that I would the reason that I wouldn't say Mary J. Blige over Mariah Carey, and I still don't even know if Mariah Carey got the spot, but I wouldn't say Mary J. Blige over Mariah Carey because I think they're neck and neck on cultural impact and reach and what they did for R&B history wise, but I think talent wise.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think the ability or the lane that was driven, that Mariah Carey was, drove in with the help of Diddy, was more innovative than Mariah Carey's lane. Mariah Carey was the darling, and she I think it was Sony, and she married Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola used her, and then he replaced her with Jennifer Lopez. Like, she had that stair step, and not to say that she didn't have talent. I'm not saying that at all. Like, she didn't have the ability to do it, but she had a vehicle pushing her that was a lot bigger than what Mary J. Blige had, and still accomplished the same level.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is, once again, all of that is fine, but still, I think it's the talent that's like, whether Mary J. Blige still, if you swap spots and Mary J. Blige had that same vehicle, married Tommy, all of that good stuff, she would still sound how she sounds, and she still wouldn't sing any.
But that's how she got to where she is, because of how she sounds. I get what you're saying, and that's why I was saying tone and timbre are weird, or I mean, for me, weird measurements to measure by, because tone and timbre is not talent. Tone and timbre is preference.
But nobody, I don't think, and once again, it's not a knock against Mary J. Blige, but nobody is going to put Mary J. Blige and Mariah Carey in the same singing spectrum.
Well, I'm going to say this too.
But, okay, but before you say that, we all agree. Okay, you know who got the most votes in the history of the presidential election, in the history of the whole thing?
Sure.
Joe Biden. You know who's number 2? Donald Trump. Last election.
Obviously.
Yeah. So just because you're not number 1 does not mean that your number 2 did not have historical significance. I said that to say that we all say that, yes, and for those of us cool kids who are old enough to remember, we all say that, yes, Whitney Houston is probably the greatest vocalist to ever grace R&B's platform. Mariah Carey was very not close, not far behind at all.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like, in the heyday, it was 1A and 1B. And if you don't say 1A and 1B, you'll say like 1 and a very close 2.
But right? It's also very different sounds.
It's also very different sounds, but I think that's how highly regarded that Mariah Carey's vocal abilities are in the whole grand scheme of things.
So let me say this.
Oh, you up now that the camera ain't on. Go ahead.
Let me say this. And this sounds like a knock at Mariah, and it really isn't, but it's the truth. Mary J. Blige can still sing her songs today.
Yes.
Can Mariah Carey?
No. No, she can't. No, she can't. I give you that. That's cool. But I think to counter that, I would say that Mary J. Blige, and once again, these types of things, and I say I hate conversations like this, but apparently I don't, because I picked it and it's my show. But I will also say that Mary J. Blige can still sing her songs today, but Mary J. Blige can't sing anybody else's songs. She can only sing her song. Ain't nobody calling Mary J. Blige to do no tribute unless it's like Etta James or somebody. Like, even still, you know what I mean? Like, no, like, she's not being. People are not regarding her as a vocalist.
Who is calling Mariah Carey to do tributes?
When we don't know what happened to Mariah Carey.
I mean, I do. I think I do know what happened to Mariah Carey.
Well, I think I do too. But
Mariah Carey has a beautiful talent. She was able to do such talented things with her voice and powerful things with her voice, and it just doesn't last. You get older, it happens. Your voice is not as strong as it used to be. But so, I mean, and that's, like I said, it's not a knock. That happens. I mean, God bless Whitney Houston. It was the same thing, honestly. And people try to pretend like it wasn't. But it was. She did not have the same ability. And granted, her struggles were different. But I think the longevity is what I'm getting at, is what is a good characteristic for a Mount Rushmore.
So who do you got? So that's my struggle. Like, if I had to pick my number 4, I mean, I don't know, but it's like,
You said Diana Ross.
I know, but like, it's like the Bill Russell thing. Like, was he the greatest ever? No, but like, all things considered, you got him up there as one of the greats. Yeah, I mean, Diana Ross, and like, if somebody like, no, she don't care, you gotta swap somebody else out. Like, it'd be all cool, because it's so many other people, but gun to my head, that's what I would say. So who do you got?
I said I agree with you. Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, Beyonce. I probably wouldn't put Diana Ross up there.
That's what I'm saying. The 4th is the hardest.
Yeah, it is, because you got all these names in your head and all these people that impacted you.
And it's only 4 spots and not 5.
And we're doing R&B.
R&B. And before you say that, while you think about that, I just want to throw this out there, that and you say this too, and I still don't. I genuinely don't understand, because we talk about Beyonce and like how pop she is. I can't think. And you told me offline, like, maybe Sasha Fierce, but I like, okay, maybe, but I can't think of one pop album that she did.
I Am Sasha Fierce. Most of her songs, I think I don't say most, but a lot of her songs on that album were written by Sia. But
yeah, like, in their whole catalog.
But you don't listen to that album. You listen to Telephone.
But no, that's what I'm saying though, is like, okay, in her whole discography, in her whole body of work, from Destiny's Child, if you want to do that, all the way until this last thing. If you want to say I Am Sasha Fierce, yes, okay, concession, but everything else would lean hard R&B. But yeah, she's considered pop.
Hard R&B? I don't
know. Dangerously in Love.
R&B.
B-Day.
Who was on B-Day? Was that No, that was Sasha Fierce. What was
Upgrade You? No, was it?
Yeah, there was like a hip hop R&B.
And that that's not Just Blaze, but the that lead single.
Deja Vu.
Yeah,
that's R&B.
Yeah. So What's the next one? Sasha Fierce?
I Am Sasha Fierce.
Okay,
That's
pop.
the 2 album. Yeah.
Okay. Then 4.
I mean, that is R&B. That was an R&B album.
And what was it? Beyonce, the unreleased one?
Or whatever it was called. Yeah.
R&B?
That's pop.
It's pop?
I think so. I think there's R&B stuff on there, but I think it's pop. Boom, 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 boom. Drop a road. I think that's like a clubbish pop song.
Okay.
What's the other song? XO. You Love Me Like XO. That's a pop song. I mean, and it's not knocking it, but I think those are more R&B leaning.
Okay.
I mean, excuse me, pop leaning.
Lemonade.
Well,
Okay, man. After Lemonade.
I don't even know what Lemonade even be R&B. Not that
Jolene pop.
Well, I was gonna say it's not pop either. I know she has one distinguishable country song on there, "Daddy's Lessons," but the other songs,
but this is
I guess those songs.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Hold Up, yeah, it's more performative though.
But that's when I think that's when it started. Not started, but like that's probably when, like, the sound and feel and shift of R&B, it just as a whole started turning into another thing.
For her, or you mean in general?
Just in general. So R&B wasn't, R&B wasn't Jodeci, or it wasn't like.
You brought up somebody
that
was way gone before.
I was trying to think of a 2000s R&B.
You can't have this conversation.
My Lord.
It wasn't the Four Tops, but I mean,
who was 2000s R&B?
So that was an era where R&B wasn't as prominent.
Right,
so
right,
it was a lot of Raheem DeVon's, Corinne Bailey Rae, which could be, I guess you could lean towards popish.
I would say she's pop R&B, yes.
It was some other people. I mean, you had your Jaheim. Jaheim was big when he was out.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
And it was more like, was it B2K? Like that era of like Chris Brown and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think that whole era was pop R&B.
I agree.
Okay, so, but like.
Besides Jaheim, that wasn't no pop.
Yeah, that wasn't. Them white folk weren't going for no Jaheim.
Who?
But no, I think that's when the whole I call it, I don't have a name for it, but I call it like the artistic R&B era really started bubbling up. That's what I think it was right around that time.
So what else what give me an example of what you mean by that? Like, who is that?
Like PJ Morton.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's not it's okay. So moving on. Okay, so Lemonade R&B. What was after that? What was after Lemonade?
She did Black is King, and then there was Homecoming, which was just the performance, and then Now, which is a dance album.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, so if you want to say the self-titled,
It's self-titled.
Self-titled, yeah. It's Beyonce, yeah. Self-titled album, and then Sasha Fierce. But the rest of her whole career is like R&B.
Yeah.
But I think she's so popular.
I was gonna say that's the race divide right there. And I had the conversation with you before that I don't really like the term pop music. I think it needs an actual name. Like, the sound of it needs another name, because what is pop but popular music?
Right.
And if it's R&B and popular, is that not pop? Like, I know the sound of pop that they're talking about. I just think it needs another name, because then it muddies the water. You know, Justin Bieber it was a couple of years ago for the Grammys, his R&B album, when they nominated him for I think best pop album or something, he went all off on the committee.
You know, it's funny. Like when I think of pop albums, it's so funny, and I think this may be the musician in me. Is I think of major chords, like that bright sound.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's the sound.
And like
no, I mean traditionally, yes.
Fours and stuff, like ones and fours, and like those power chords and all of that stuff. So like when people say like the pop sound, like I think of like literally the sound, and I think that other people, you know. So whatever, that's neither here nor there. Who you got? 4. We know.
You want me to just name my 4? What you're
well,
saying?
we know who the 3 are.
So I'm just saying my number 4.
Who's your number 4? Who are you struggling with? Oh my Lord. Cool kids.
It's the struggle is Mariah Carey or Mary J. Blige. That's my struggle. I would say
Nobody else. Not Janet Jackson.
No, I think she's performance. I love her and she has the hits for me, but that's me, and I understand that. I'm not so caught up on me that I understand what the task is, but
not Maya.
You don't have to do that.
Go ahead.
I would
shout out to Maya.
I think you made a good argument that it would be more Mariah Carey than Mary J. I think Mary J is.
Put your hand down.
Oh my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all.
Getting real comfortable since that camera died.
I think Mary J. Blige would be my 5th man. Just when you, in the overall of Mariah Carey, the voice, the writing, the number ones, the comeback, even though Mary J had a strong comeback too, but that she had the number 1 song of the decade, Mariah Carey. We Belong Together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to put up against anybody.
So I may need to run the tape back. So are you saying Mariah Carey or you saying Mary J. Blige?
Mariah Carey.
So you did all that and then you're agreeing with
I said that you made a good point.
Okay.
You don't want me to agree with you. You want me to fight. You want to fight.
I do want you to agree with me.
No, you don't.
Just because of that. Diana's off the mountain. Get her off. Sorry, Diana. You had a good run. We love Tracy Ellis Ross. Shout out to your daughter. Great contribution to society.
She did not care about us in our shout outs.
You don't understand the power of the lunch table.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying she's not interested daughter. I don't care who we are.
Come on the show, Tracy.
No, not after you just pushed our mom off the mountain.
Tracy, if you come on the show, Diana can come back on. Like, I have no shame.
You know how ridiculous you sound.
I have no shame in my spots, y'all. Okay. So this is who we're going with. Man, that's crazy. We're really putting Mariah Carey up there, huh?
I mean, if you earn it, you earn it. I'm surprised you said it because I know you don't really, rock with her like that.
Yeah, I mean, not like that.
But talent is a talent.
But talent is a talent. Like, talent is a talent. And it's Women's Month. Well, it was. So, y'all had a good run. Women had a good first quarter. Well,
Shout out to Angel Reese.
Shout out to Angel Reese. We'll talk about that later. But the hours drawn nigh.
Caitlyn was cool too. I can't even be mad at Caitlyn.
Man, listen.
She didn't do anything wrong.
She didn't do nothing wrong except she's Larry Bird. She's a little prickly. She don't got any swag. But
she does. In her interviews, I was looking at some interviews. Her swag is her brand.
Yeah, that's her thing. Yeah. It's like Larry Bird was, he was, no frills, Indiana, weird mustache, but he said what he meant what he said, and he was funny in his mind,
He was saying the N-word all up and down the court.
I believe it. And the sad part is you can't do nothing about it. That's terrible. Shout out to Larry Bird. Come on the show, Larry Bird.
No.
Listen. I think we're good. I think once we start shouting out Larry Bird, I think we both need to go to bed. We had a good show. We got our Mount Rushmore. Don't you wish it was 5 heads up there? 5 heads for Mariah and Mary J. Blige. Wouldn't that be easier?
It would have been.
It's only 4 heads.
But then we still would have been like, I wish it was 6. We would have thought of somebody else.
Man, the disrespect that you have for Diana Ross is unfathomable.
The disrespect that you have for what? Who'd you say, Maya? Like, why would you even do that? Jasmine Sullivan, and she got a fan base. I don't even know why you. I don't even know why you playing them waters.
I'm not playing in those waters, but she does have a fan base. But most successful people do.
Exactly, she's successful.
I'm not saying that she's not successful, but first of all, get out of my angle.
Felicia,
get out of my angle. I'm not saying that she's not successful. I'm saying that she's not Mount Rushmore, is what I'm saying. And I have no problem saying that. I hope she's there. I think that she's
on the way to Mount Rushmore.
I think that she needs a transcendent song, preferably a transcendent album.
And many would argue Hotels was that. I know you're saying it's not for you.
No. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying that I think that was her breakout album, and I think that was her Hey World, Look at Me, I'm a big star album. I don't think it's transcendent. And everybody up there has transcendent music. Jasmine Sullivan, in my humble opinion, needs what Tamela Mann had. Tamela Mann will.
Kurt Franklin come and write her a song.
Take Me to the King. Take Me to the King. And that song was her most subdued song, many would agree. You know, Tam was hollering and doing all this good stuff, and it was all good, and her voice was amazing. But she didn't have that song. She did not have that song. And once Kurt came in and Take Me to the King, it was the most reserved that she's ever sung. Words are powerful. It was simple. It pierced. She never looked back. I think that's what Jasmine Sullivan needs. I think that's what Jennifer Hudson needs, but it's probably too late for her. But
it's never too late.
It's never too late. Shout out to J Hud. But yeah, I think, and you know, we'll wrap it up, cool kids. But yeah, I mean, and maybe this is a part 2. But it's not her. There's so many talented people that'll never have the platform that they deserve, because this may be the songwriter in me, but it's not. I mean, it's a handshake, yes, but it's the songs that last and make people, not their voices. And on that note, you disagree, and that's fine.
It's not that I disagree, but that's not what you've literally been saying this whole show. But go ahead.
Okay. But for Jasmine Sullivan to break out, and I have no problem saying it. If I see Jasmine Sullivan in the street, I'm gonna say, hey Jazz, let me talk to you.
I'm gonna let her slap you.
Well, first of all, Jasmine Sullivan ain't gonna put her hands on me. That's what ain't gonna happen.
I'll let it happen. Only once though. I'll step in a second if she try to rear back and do it again.
You know she's gonna try to, because you let her do it the first time.
Then I'll step in I'll step in.
So now she's testing you. Because you don't let her slap me the first time. Let me get another one off.
I mean, if you let me talk to you. You're not on my Mount Rushmore. Yeah, you're gonna get slapped.
No, I'm not telling her that she's not on my Mount Rushmore.
You need a hit. Hey, kid, you need a hit. You sound like you're trying to be her agent.
Hey, man.
You sound like, what was Jamie Foxx and Dream Girl?
I knew you was going to say that. What's his name?
Oh, Curtis.
Curtis. One night only. Yeah, she needs a hit. But tell me I'm wrong.
I don't necessarily agree, but that's another conversation. It's 2:30.
Is it? All right, go kids. Let me hit this music. Y'all, thank you so much. Shout out to my lovely wife, Danielle, for coming in. We're praying for her finger. Comment, subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. We're tired. We're going home.